weep grana weep mini bong, and welcome back to the Justin Network. Today we're going to be looking at Studio Series 8616 RC from the Transformers movie, the 86 movie, the cartoon movie, the original movie. She is a deluxe class. We got here 18 simple steps, big screen inspired, scale detail backdrop. When the Decepticons launch their attack, RC converts Autobot City. Wish it said a little more than that. It sounds like she's just a home decorator, which she is obviously much more than that. That's funny that that was the way they worded it. But, alright, so here's RC, and let's get her out of the box. Alright, so here is RC out of the packaging. And I'm gonna say that I think there's already a couple things I don't care for, a couple things I do really care for. The coloring, for one, looks incredible. These pinks and whites and such they used, even the grays look really good. I do wish, see right there, they didn't use the gray on the inside there. Wish they had done that. But I think one thing I don't like, I don't know if it's just me, and it could just be that certain angle looking at it. The head just doesn't always look, see right in there, it looks a little awkward. I don't know if it's coming too far off of her head, like her neck is too long, if it's just not sized right. Kind of hard for me to tell there, but there's a couple things going on with the head that I'm kind of like, and then her arms are really thin. I get it, I understand, we want it to look feminine, but I don't know, her arms are just very thin, and her chest is very, broad and boxy. I don't think that's very super accurate. I mean, she's a feminine robot, but I think they over accentuated just a tad there. But overall, the back doesn't look bad. I mean, there's just the whole car. There's some holes there, but I don't think it looks too awful bad. Doesn't necessarily look like the way her back does in like the cartoon, but unfortunately, with all RC figures, pretty much a big majority of female Transformer figures, they end up being Shellformers, and I think you can already tell what I'm talking about. The parts don't actually break into them, the parts turn into a backpack most time with Shellformers, but I digress from that. This is what we're looking at here. Let's test some of her. Ooh, okay. So she can spin all the way around there. It's funny when you look at it, she almost looks like she's wearing an X-Wing helmet, like they would have worn the Rebellion of Star Wars.
It's just like Beggar's Canyon back home.
Kind of wild there, or like she has space bones like Princess Leia.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Very interesting. Can she... I don't think that's a T-pose. You can force her to T-pose, but I'm not going to do it for long there because I'm afraid I'll break her. She can go up there, but really that's as far as it wants to go, and I don't know that I would call that a T-pose. It's pretty low for a T-pose. She can bend at the elbow there. It will bend all the way up like that. Pretty interesting. I will say, for as delicate and thin as these arms are, they do have some pretty good movability, and they're pretty well detailed, I feel like. It's pretty interesting the way they did that. Her hands look very good. I guess because they didn't do like a full hand holding. You get what I'm saying? It's like an open hand. It makes it look pretty good in my opinion. Her hip can turn all the way around like that. So she can technically... She does have like some ab crunching ability. You see like that, but you just got to be careful because it doesn't necessarily want to stay there. It's got like a weird popping mechanic that gets it to stay. See, as I'm messing with it. But she does have an ab crunch, which is not very common for most Transformers toys. That's pretty cool. It's not something you see very often. So she can, see, it's coming loose. Yeah, so that's going to be an issue with it wanting to stay like that. I can already tell. So she does have the thigh spin right there. Her knees can turn like that, go that far back, and they can go... See, that's going to be a huge issue with this figure, and I'm already so not liking it. That part of it. But that's as far up as she can kick, unfortunately. She can get some cool poses, though, I think, like that. I think her very feminine frame is going to help her do some very interesting and cooler poses that's going to work for her that wouldn't necessarily look as good on some of the other more masculine characters. But her feet, let's see here, they can turn up and down like that. They've got like that. They can do all the way. That's probably part of the transformation, but that gives a lot of movability with her feet. That's her articulation for you in kind of a nutshell there. I'm hoping that the lighting looks pretty decent in this video. My hands really change the way the camera focuses a lot and the way the colors look, and I don't exactly know how to fix that. To digress, that is kind of all she's got going on there in her articulation. How about we look at her accessories? She's got her little blaster here, which is very similar to the one she had in the movie. Spoiler alert, when she was inside of Unicron and she's doing the, yeah, there we go, pretty darn close to that pose right there, right? But yeah, so that's cool. It does fit in there. It seems like it's a little loosely in there, so just be careful with that, but it fits in there and it looks pretty good with her. The color is more keen to this color gray than this color gray, but it still looks pretty good on her for sure. I do think that she's not wanting to just stay exactly the way you have her necessarily, and I don't know what has done that, because I feel like she was sitting really well early on. I think it might just be how many different spots she has articulation in, which that's a good thing. So you know what, if she's wanting to move around a lot because of all her points of articulation, I'll take that. I'll take that. So how about we go ahead and measure up from bottom of her foot to the top of that shell part there. She's going to be around 5 1/8 inches. Width wise, we're just going to do from the end of the shell to the end of the shell, and that's pretty darn close to 2 inches there. One thing that I'm glad I just thought of before I transformed her, she does have weapon storage here on her hip. I'm on tonight, you know my hips don't lie, and I'm starting to feel it's right. There we go. Plug into her hip like that, and that looks very cool. I think that's a really good accessory storage because it looks very realistic, like they would actually store it there. But yeah, she is slightly, not super, but slightly top heavy because of her backpack, and it is making her want to lean just a tad there. But I say now, let's go ahead and get her transformed. Look at her alt mode. All right, there is RC transformed into her sports car mode. So this is supposed to be based on a sports car of the future of the year 2005.
2005.
This is what they predicted Earth vehicles to look like. More so like this, because this is, RC was supposed to be a Earth vehicle, an Earth car. So this is in the year 2005. This is what they were assumed to be looking like at that point in time. I don't know if they're making predictions or just hopefully thinking, but I wouldn't mind having a car looking like this. That would be pretty sick. So you get a good look there. Looks pretty good, but as you can tell, it was a short Shellformer because her whole body is basically just right up underneath there like that. And as you can tell, you can see her arms, her legs, you can see pretty much everything just up underneath there, and it's just all hidden by these parts that all form to make her backpack. A lot of people don't like Shellformers. Just trying to give you guys an idea of what that Shellformer moniker means so you guys can kind of decide if you yourself care about it or not. I go back and forth. Sometimes I'm like, not a big deal. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's kind of silly. It should actually be part of the way they look. But I understand it's hard for them to do it with the female figures. They don't understand how to make the body into the parts. It's a harder concept for them to get their heads around. Now, these parts have a little bit of a hard time staying together. It's definitely because her shoulders and such get in the way. It's part of the way it transformed. I think we've got it perfectly right. I think they're just going to have a hard time constantly sitting and staying together like they're supposed to. I think that's just going to be a general thing that happens. We get lucky if it stays perfectly all the time, I would say. I do like the way her wheels are covered. I wish that those little holes weren't there. I get that. Actually, I'm not for sure why they're there. It probably, I don't know. I wish they weren't there. I'm sure they have some kind of reasoning for being there, but I wish they weren't. I think they would look better without it. But as you can see, each wheel rolls very well, and Roll test. Yo! You guys know how much I hate on Hasbro all the time for how bad they make a toy car that doesn't actually roll like a toy car. But this one is rolling perfectly, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty surprised by that. I thought that it was not gonna roll very well when I was sitting there transforming and mess with it. I thought the legs were totally gonna get in the way, but they do not. And this car do be zipping and zapping very well. So that's really cool. I actually think, I know like this is not a good money advice at all, but I do think she looks so good in this mode that it would be worth having two, to have one display in this mode, one display in the other mode. Don't like those little holes right there. Wish there was something to cover that, but man, you're just noticing that from up above for the most part. This is a very, very good looking alt mode, and I'm very impressed, to be honest with you. Her weapon here doesn't have any kind of place to put it on the top. I think it would be really cool if there was some way you could have put it somewhere, put it on the side or something, but it does have accessory storage. If I'm not mistaken, it is supposed to plug right there into that hole. So let's see if it affects the rolling. I can't tell if it's dragging. It might be slightly dragging, but it still rolls pretty darn good, even if it is slightly dragging, to be honest with you. So pretty good accessory storage, honestly. I do wish you could have some way to put it, like you wanted to have it on the side or something, but I mean, it fits under there and it doesn't seem to really be inhibiting the driving, so win-win, I would say. Let's measure out this car, see how long it is. This is one of the rare, I feel like usually in deluxe classes, the cars underwhelm me with their size. I feel like they always look so small once you've actually got them transformed in their car. This is not. This feels about the size I would have expected it to be. That's pretty cool. The length is going to be around 4 3/4 inches, pretty darn close. End to end like that, about 2 inches. End to end that way, it's going to be pretty darn close, slightly under 2 inches. Alright, we got her transformed back here into her bot mode. Let's measure up against some of the other Transformers we've recently looked at on this channel. First up, Legacy United Cliff Jumper. He's also a deluxe class. He's from Legacy United. We did a video of him on our 50 subscriber celebration week. Just get you an idea how they look next to each other. There she is next to Legacy United 4-pack Tarn. He was also part of our 50 subscriber celebration week. He is a Voyager class, shows you a height difference there that they have. There she is next to a Leader class, Combiner Wars Thundercracker. Normally, this isn't the way you would have these two characters scale against each other. Thundercracker and Arcee are much closer to the actual height of each other. But yeah, I know Arcee is a very well-liked character. I like her, don't love her. She's not necessarily up there as my favorite female Transformer, but she is a fun character that I do enjoy. She was very maternal, I guess I would say, in the original Transformers cartoon. And I don't want to get yammering and make this video too long, but I will say justice for Arcee. In the Japanese Headmasters cartoon, she literally never got to do anything. They like turned her into a receptionist, and that was absolute bull squash. Hear, hear. So, justice for Arcee, that was not cool what they did to you in Japan. Alright, now we are going to jump right into the rankings part of this video. Starting off in rankings will be our functionality. Remember, functionality is going to be about the posing, the articulation, the accessories, accessory storage, all that good stuff. Gave her a 7. I think 7 was a pretty solid number. I didn't debate too hard on going either other way. Yes, she does have really good articulation. She's got most of the articulation you would want. She even has an ab crunch there. And then her accessories, pretty solid. Got real good storage, I would say, in both modes. You know what? You maybe could actually argue giving her an 8. I think where she falls off a little bit is posing. I think she can pose. She's going to be able to do some solid posing, but her back is a bit heavy. And she does feel like she wants to do a weird kind of leans with how much articulation she does have. Some of her spots want to lean and do things in a certain manner, and you can't exactly figure out what's making it do what. Gave her a 7. I think you could really actually argue an 8, but I'm feeling like a strong 7 here. Next up, we're going to be grading her transformation. Remember, transformation is going to be about how creative the transformation was, how fun that transformation was to complete, and just how, overall hard, easy, creative, all that good stuff. Just how did all that work together? So, I gave her a 6 here. Honestly, you could argue a 5. A lot of people don't like Shellformers. A lot of people will probably give her much lower than 6 because of her being a Shellformer at all. I'm not holding that too hard against her because I understand it. I get why they feel like they had to do it. This is also a mold that's a bit older. This actually isn't even the first time that they've used this mold for an RC. This is the Thrilling 30 RC mold, which happened on the 30th anniversary. This year we just celebrated the 40th anniversary. So that tells you how old this mold is, but they've retooled it pretty heavily, did a lot of stuff to fix and add some extra, articulation and such to it. But yeah, I kind of get why the transformation is the way it is. That doesn't mean that it's a great transformation. It's not the most fun. The parts where they're just shell pieces that just are supposed to kind of just slide or ticky-tack right into each other, it's very ticky-tacky. It's not wanting to do it perfectly. It doesn't want to just slide in like it's supposed to. It's going to have little gaps. It doesn't stay together perfectly like you would want. It's also not the most fun transformation. It's not that it's necessarily hard. I think it could be a little frustrating, and I think it would be very easy for one little thing to be out of place and completely throw you off, and you get super ticked off at it and throw a fit and then not want to finish the video. Not saying it come from experience or anything. Nah, I'm just kidding. I actually didn't do that with this figure, but I have done it in the past, not gonna lie to you. So, I could definitely see that happening with this figure. That's why she gets that 6. You could argue a 5. Last but not least will be her appearance. Her appearance is going to be based around how good she looks in this mode, how good she looks in her alt mode, and how much she looks like the character she's trying to portray. In this instance, we're trying to portray the Transformers 86 Movie Arcee. She does a pretty good job at that. Her alt mode specifically looks a lot like the car did in the movie and in the cartoon. It definitely had some underneath is not great. There was those little holes on the top, you know what I'm talking about. And there's some loose parts where it doesn't just perfectly go in like it should. And then you've got this mode where she has a big backpack that she doesn't actually have. Now these parts she does actually have. They're usually on her shoulders. So I think it's a cool way they incorporated that to kind of being into it. And some of her parts feel a little thin, like her arms and legs. They have a interesting, I don't know that it's all proportioned perfectly well, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think there's a little proportion out of whack, but I think it looks good. I think she looks really good in both modes. I really enjoyed both modes. I think the appearance is going to be where she shined the most. Honestly, even though she has this big backpack, it's not too crazy bulky, and from the backside it doesn't really even look bad. So I think that really she had a lot of good things going for her in this department. I gave her an 8. You know what? I don't know. I gave her a 7. I gave her an 8. I've gone back and forth on it. I think that I will settle. This is tough. This is one of the really hard ones for me to grade, guys. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with giving her a 7 or an 8. I'm giving her a 7. I think she's good, but she has some issues. She looks good in both modes. And she does do a pretty decent well of interpreting what she's supposed to be looking like, but she doesn't do any of them super incredibly well. They're all just very solid. And I think very solid all around gives it a 7. I think she deserves that 7. I've talked myself into it. You guys let me know in the comments what you all thought. Really want to know if y'all would have given her a 7 or an 8, because that's Not saying it's bothering me, but I think that was a real hard one to decide on. Funny thing I forgot to completely show you all, she also came with this. That would have been great to have in the background for the entire video. Silly me for forgetting. But that is going to be from the Battle of Autobot City. All the 86 figures have some kind of background like that. Well, all the Studio series really has some kind of little background piece that they come with like this one does. And so, looks very cool. Would have been nice to have in the background this whole time. I completely forgot. My bad. I think it also makes her look better on camera with having that backdrop. Oh well, you know, you live and you learn. But guys, I just want to say, I really appreciate you all showing up every week, liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff, sharing the videos. It all means a lot to me. It all helps the channel grow, and we're growing really fast. This is a rocket ship to the moon, guys, and I appreciate you all hopping on, being here from the beginning, just hopping on now. Whatever, I like y'all the same. But we're going to go ahead, I guess, and wrap this video up. Tune in next week. We're going to have another video. And I hope you all enjoyed the emergency video that y'all got this week. That was pretty cool, huh? But anyways, I guess we're going to wrap you up now with a till all are one. Peace!